Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafting with Slavie, where we make cards and discuss crafty things. Today's card is the second of my Valentine's Day series, but not very Valentine's Day, so I hope you enjoy the process. If you are new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing, and if you like the content, make sure you hit the like button. Okay, so I started off with prepping for my card. And as always, I like to separate my pieces. So I always pre-cut my images and then I die cut them. So I stamp them first on Bristol Smooth cardstock. And in this case, I use the Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink to get them ready. And then I also pre-cut all of my card elements and usually including the card base. So in this case, we are using the Scalloped Slimline with hearts in portrait and Ocean Shell-fie. So if you are not aware, the Scalloped Slimline with hearts from Lawn Fawn, and these are both Lawn Fawn products, they are part of their Valentine's 2021 collection, and they come in two different sizes. So similar to the Slimline release that they did last year, you can get different sizes of panels from these. Now with the heart panels, this is why they're portrait and landscape. As you can see, I'm using the portrait one, but the landscape one also has hearts similar to this. And you can absolutely swap them out. So if you don't like the sentiment inside of the heart, you can change it out. Now to make my card, I wanted to make it kind of look like the bottom of the ocean, and I may have neglected to put in a floor. So when we do the coloring, I'm going to talk a little bit about items that I've pre-prepared but did not use. I am using the Ocean Wave stencils from Lawn Fawn as well, and the distressing colors that I'm using here are Mermaid Lagoon, Blueprint Sketch, and Chipped Sapphire. And I used all three of these stencils. The nice thing about these stencils is they are 6 inches wide. So as I was moving them down my stencil, I was moving them kind of around so I would get different wave looks with every time that I put it on. Now, I did pre-blend the panel with the Mermaid Lagoon. And then when I was blending out the waves, I kind of wanted a little bit of a like ombre effect, I guess you could call it. So from top to bottom, I wanted the top to be lightest and the bottom I wanted to be the darkest color. So what I did to achieve that is I blended from the bottom of the stencil and I moved up, first with Mermaid Lagoon, then just a touch of Blueprint Sketch, and then I got heavier with the Blueprint Sketch, and then when I neared the bottom, I was very heavy with the Blueprint Sketch, and then I finished it off with a little bit of that Chipped Sapphire. And then to finish off the bottom of this panel, I did take whatever my last wave was. The bottom of these stencils also acts as like a mask. So I masked off the top of my waves and then I just added that extra color at the bottom so that it looked seamless and it didn't look weird, which is really nice. Now, I did attach these hearts without the centers with some post-it tape just on the back, and the reason for that was because I wanted those sentiments to pop. So I'm actually going to ink blend them in a different color, which we'll get to in a minute here, and I did attach them to the panel because I want to create some dimension in the panel by popping up the panel and leaving the hearts inlaid inside so they're not popped up. Okay, so this is me going in with that Chipped Sapphire to do the bottom, and you can see that it creates a nice gradation in color. So here I am going in with Barn Door to attack those letters. Now they are teeny tiny, and my blending brush would pick them up if I didn't secure them. So I actually just stuck them on a piece of post-it tape. Oh my goodness, I can't talk today, guys. I'm so sorry. I stuck them on a piece of post-it tape, and I ink blended them that way so that I would have a hold of them. Now let's get to the coloring. So Ocean Shell-fie is not a new stamp set. It is a release, I believe, from, I want to say the fall winter release, but I actually think it's the summer release of Lawn Fawn last year. Either way, it is adorable, and I did not realize, because I didn't originally pick it up, I didn't realize, but it actually has some really adorable sentiments that are perfect for Valentine's Day, which is what I ended up using today. And so I really encourage you to check it out because it's so cute, and you don't have to use it with the Magic Iris camera add-on to be able to use it. There are lots of cute ways that you can use it, and I think I'm probably going to explore that in the future because it does come with those two cameras that point in different directions. Okay, now with the ink blending, so I am trying to make the lightest part of the octopus in the center of him. So I am just going around, and of course because the little octopus, we're not doing this is what the picture looks like kind of scene today. So let's say that that's his little brother, and I am going to ink blend him similarly where the center is where the light source is. Now here's a tip: if you color outside of the lines like I did here, you can go in with the Jelly Roll pens, that's the white in number 10, and you can kind of fix your mistake. You might need to do it a couple times, especially for a dark color like red. But I find that it works really well to clean up those edges so you still have that white edge on your die cuts. Okay, I then colored the fish, and I wanted them to be multicolored, so I just went in with that same combination of reds and then went in with the yellows. Again, in the case of the fish on the right, the light source is in front of him, and in the case of the fish on the left, his light source is in front of him as well. So that's how I am doing my blending. And then we've got these pearls. So I used 3 colors just to kind of keep it in the same color family, and I just wanted it to be super light colors for the pearl, and then like a nice sweet peachy pearl color for the inside of the pearl. And I used, I think, a similar combination of colors. Maybe it was a different one. We'll find out soon because it'll be on the screen. For the jellyfish. And with the clam here, I am trying to make the lines where my darkest points are. So that's where I'm blending from, in case you are wondering. Okay, and then moving on to the jellyfish, I am using the same color combination, and I used all 3 on these because I think it really lends itself to the jellyfish in general. So I started with the light source in these guys is up at the top, and if you've seen jellyfish, you know they're kind of translucent, and that's the picture that I was kind of going for here. So I just blended upwards and made the lightest color up at the top. Now for the cameras, I am used to traditional looking cameras, so I used a combination of grays to accomplish a look of black. So C7, C9, this is what I use to mimic black, but to give it some depth. So you can tell that it's gray when you look really closely at it, but you can still see the shadows, which I really like about it. And then I went a touch lighter with the C5, C7 just to make the other gray parts actually gray. And then I ended up going even lighter for the rest of the camera, but all in all, the camera is kind of gray and black. And for the lens, I did go in with my lightest blues, which is B000 and B00. And you can also go in with just a colorless blender. So you can take your lightest blue that you have and go in with a colorless blender. I will link up here on the right to a video that I did for my holiday card series, where I was really super happy with the way that I did the blending of COPICs for the glass on the car for the bears that were having their picnic. And I wish I could have reproduced that here, but the lens was just way too small and it just wasn't going to happen, which is okay. And you'll notice that I'm using a combination of neutral gray and cool gray. For those of you who use Copic markers, you don't have to be afraid to combine the two in this way because you're coloring different portions of the object. And we're going to talk a little bit about batching. So I made this card along with another one, and I like to batch my coloring. So if you are somebody who makes these cards a lot, like myself, you can probably benefit from batching your coloring. So you'll notice that when I take out the blue, the next thing that I'm going to do is the bubbles. And I just go and I do this. So if I'm using a red, I just color all the things that are going to be red, red, and anything that's pink, I color pink, that kind of thing. And I do that also with my ink blending when I begin my card. That's another thing too. I always make my backgrounds first, and the reason for that is because I'm usually ink blending, and I want to give the panel an opportunity to dry properly and really set with that color. So to make this card, it doesn't take me very long. I think it only took me about 2.5 hours to make this one in particular, and just because there was quite a bit of coloring. In the case of these rocks and then the greenery that's coming, I actually ended up not using them. So this isn't a very long portion of the coloring. I just want to leave it in here in case you were wondering how to color these and how I colored them. So I used 2 different combinations of colors in the warm grays to create some darker rocks and some lighter rocks. And this is where I kind of made a boo-boo because the background is all water and there's no opportunity for me to place these things anywhere really, because then it just looks like it's floating on water, which looks weird. But yeah, so make sure you batch everything. And this is actually, it brings me back to this. Because I batch everything, this is not that big a deal. I will save these pieces, and because I have pre-cut die cuts of this, I will use them later. So no big deal. Okay, now I used the sentiment from Ocean Shell-fie. It says, "You occupy my thoughts," and then in brackets it says, "like a lot." And I used the everyday sentiment banners to cut it out once I heat embossed it in white using the Ranger Superfine white heat embossing powder. And I cut it out of, and actually my card base is out of this paper. It's the Astro Brights. I think it's the bright red, but it's linked down below if you would like to get some. I was a little shocked when this red came because it's really pink. However, it lends itself really well to be used with this blue. I just thought it popped really nicely. So then here I am, I'm taking that panel, I attached the scallop border, and I am just attaching those circles. So I've taken my Post-it tape, and if you haven't used Post-it tape, it's a low-tack tape, so it's really perfect for these types of projects. And I used it to hold my panel together so that I could get perfect placement for my hearts. Now I'm going to go back in with the tiny letters because I don't want the background color to be the color that you see. Plus I like the inlay effect. I just think it looks really pretty. And I'm just going to pop in the letters, and I think it really completes the background. It's just super cute. Now, originally, I wanted to make this a shaker card. However, I totally forgot. I didn't want to take it apart. So I left it as it is, and I just laid my card out, and I hope that you like this process. You gotta kind of go with the swing of things when you're a card maker, because at the end of the day, I feel like in the card making community, a lot of the times, most of us do this in crafting in general for our mental health, and there's no use in stressing about making a mistake. So just go with the flow, roll with the punches. So what? You didn't make it a shaker card, no big deal. The next one can be a shaker card. So that's the base, and then I just went through and I attached everything. Now I learned my lesson from my holiday card series. For those of you who watched it, you know that I'm terrible at remembering to add sentiments. So I add my sentiment as much as I can remember first now. Go me! So I attached the sentiment and actually the panel using 3M foam tape. And it's about, I think it's 1 millimeter thick. And then I used the foam squares from Scrapbook Adhesives, I think is what they are. And I used a combination of the regular, which is the 1 millimeter, and the thin, which is about 0.5 millimeter, to attach my little critters so that there's still dimension all the way through. And you can see it when you look at the card. And I love that effect. I like it when there's so much dimension. It still makes it a kind of not so much an interactive card, but for me, it's eyeball jelly. Like it's just so pleasing to the eye when you can see the little shadows and stuff, and makes it better than just a single layer card. Not that those are not beautiful, but I like dimension. It makes me happy. All right, so that's about it for my description of this card, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. I do have another one that I'm going to link to in case you missed it. I did an unboxing last week, so that video is linked at the end of this video in the cards, and I'm also going to link to my Valentine's Day playlist so you can check out all of the other Valentine's Day cards that I have made, and I will be growing that collection year over year. Hope you enjoyed today's card video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!